Morning, friends. Ash here, WAT News. I was just watching Wano Savin video interview and covering the news today. It's December the 18th, 2020. And before I get started, I thought I would just give some of my take on where I think things are, what's going down, how we feel right now. What, who can tell the future, right? Most of us aren't fortune tellers, but as Tyler Durden's showing you, the fourth estate's about to die, right? Um, what's happened? The mainstream news has been outed. We can now see behind the veil somewhat, right? If you've been doing any of your homework and digging on your own, maybe you've realized that we were never really free, right? Like I was talking about in my Maritime Admiralty Law vid that I did a long time back now. If you watch Jordan Maxwell's videos on maritime admiralty law, you will start to begin to realize that you never were free, and when you were born, you were commoditized. 30-year bonds were issued against your name, your birth certificate number, and your social security number. And you were put out into the world, right? And when you grew up, you became an earner, right? You earn for the corporation who taxes everything that you make throughout your life. And so that was the system that we were in, and we thought it was the system, but it really wasn't. It was a system. And it probably wasn't from this world. We realize it now, right? Maybe it was a Babylonian slave debt system. We don't know. Maybe it's on other worlds. We don't know. But we do know, what I'm starting to understand and realize is that when you go up the chain and you try to find who's running the whole show, that's where it gets a little bit fuzzy, right? Because you can get to Pesor, but what about after Pesor? There's something in another realm that's here, right? In other words, something is beyond Pesor, and we don't know what that is. It's some alien presence, but what's beyond even that? So, so what are we dealing with, right? You know, try to wrap your brain around that, and you might not be able to, because I've been trying for 20 something years to figure it out, and I can't. But what I have figured out is, and I'll tell you what I think some of the story is, and then we'll go into the news, because maybe you don't care anymore, right? But that gets me back to this other argument that a lot of people are going back and forth about, it seems like, right, with the disclosure and the alien question. And I just never could understand this, you know. If you're going to disclose it, then just walk out onto the freaking White House lawn, and if Yoda's real, I want to see Trump come out holding Yoda, and we'll know. Okay? And if Yoda's not real, then find the dude that is real. And I want him out on the White House lawn, and bring the craziest looking alien you could find, too, so everyone knows that they're real, right? Because if you just bring out another guy who looks like a human being, it's not going to work, right? Yeah, he's got some costume on. How do I know? I want to see... All right, I want to see the craziest looking alien you could find, the spider creature, whatever it is that's friendly to us, and bring that thing out onto the freaking White House lawn, and let's get on with this already, right? What the hell are we doing? And with the other question of the more serious stuff, I mean, I don't know when that's going to come out, but it's got to start coming out at some point. I mean, what the hell are we doing? You know, if all this stuff is real with the children being hurt and all this stuff with the dumbs, then why don't you go down in the fucking thing and show it to us? With a fucking camera so I could see it. What are we doing here, right? That's what's pissing me off. And I know there's a plan and it's on a timetable, but can't you show us something to show us so we know? Or is it all just going to dump out in these big dumps that are going to come out later? That's what I'm assuming. It's just a little frustrating from this end, you know. I mean, if you've been watching the board since they started, you've been waiting 3 years. We've been at this 3 years, right? Just for this, and some of us have been at it way longer trying to wake people up, way longer. Some people have been doing this since the 70s and earlier, right? Jordan Maxwell been out there since the 50s and 60s doing it. So, you know, and then you got these people that you're not sure about, like Ick and these guys, right? Are they sponsored by someone, or are they just out there trying to be a truth teller? I don't know anymore. You know, it's so hard to figure out what the truth is and what's not the truth. And that's because the fourth estate's dying, right, by Tyler Durden. So we'll see where we go with all this, guys, right? We've been infiltrated, right? I mean, look how deep somebody got in. Or was it that maybe Trump had the, military hack it, right? Just to show, hey, look at this, man. We just hacked into the everything. And we used the SolarWinds backdoor that's inside it, right? Or whatever is in there. The fourth estate refers to the freedom of the press. The term may have first been used by the philosopher-statesman Edmund Burke, who in 1787 highlighted the press as free and apart from the other three British estates, clergy, royalty, and commoners. The modern meaning, however, refers to the press as a fourth and free power, as even a watchdog over the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of our government. Today, however, it is the watchdog that needs watching. Foundation on which the U.S. is built, freedom of speech and freedom of the press is enshrined in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And in a lot of states right now, you can't go worship, right? You can't go to your place of worship and worship freely. With your fellow man and women, right? You can't do it, or you can do it only in certain numbers. That's against the Constitution, and you've seen some challenges to that have been upheld in New York, as well as in California and other states now. So and there's also recall efforts against, I believe, Ducey now in Arizona. There's a recall effort that's gaining a lot of steam in California. I think they have over 800,000 votes, so they're more than halfway there. And I heard Newsom's getting worried. And I'm hoping that in New York that there will be a recall of Cuomo soon. And you're starting to see links with Cuomo to the Bidens, right? And if you notice, there was an email that they got from, I think it was Hunter Biden's, where he was talking about people that they could contact for possible deals. And there was a whole list, and Kamala Harris was on there, Cuomo was on there, de Blasio was on there. So, and I still want an answer to the question, which is that with Cuomo, is that when he bought those ventilators from China, how many did he buy? What price point? And if he bought 17,000 ventilators from China, that's $425 million. In a state where you're crying poor every day on the television that you have no money and you need the government to bail you out, or you can't fix it. And the press here is so just it's the press conferences here are a joke. They don't ask any questions. It's a protected press conference where no outside journalists are allowed in to ask any other questions that they don't want asked. And so that's what's happening. The press is dying. You're seeing it. Who wants to be a guinea pig? Health workers balk at the vaccine. 40% of staff at one Chicago hospital refused to take it. Well, yeah, I don't blame them. They're health professionals. They know how vaccines work and how they're vetted, right? Usually takes years of trials to get a vaccine out. 4, 5, 6 years maybe. Several years of extensive human trials before it can be released. Now all of a sudden it's within a year we're all good. A lot of people balk at that. This is out of American Military News. Report U.S. Nuclear Weapons Agency hit by massive hacking campaign. So yeah, they're in completely, whoever's doing it is completely in our infrastructure. They're inside. You got a problem now, right? You got to take all these critical infrastructure systems down. You got to go through them. You got to audit the whole thing and check out where you're hacked and how far did they get in, what was taken. We could have had military secrets stolen from us. We could have had our nuke code stolen. Who knows, right? I mean, you're going to have to power down huge amounts of your infrastructure now to figure this out. And then what do you do while it's powered down and you're looking into, say, your nukes and you're looking into your treasury and you're looking into all this stuff, right? I mean, does it still function? How's it going to work? So, and I'm going to get more into China in a second with some of the stuff that they do, because what China has a penchant for doing, especially if you want to come in their country, they say, yeah, okay, but you need to file your taxes, so here's this software. Install this in your systems, and this is how you file all your taxes here in China. Well, what if there's a backdoor in that, right? And we're going to get into that later. So, officials close to the matter told Politico that the NNSA has evidence of hackers gaining access to the agency's networks in a mass spy operation that also hacked various other U.S. agencies. The officials don't yet know what information hackers have been able to access or steal, and it may take weeks to find out. Oh, so another aspect of this, the DNI angle, right? Radcliffe's was supposed to come out with the report today. So I dug a little more into it, and it sounds like they've got more information that's come to light, whether it's from the SolarWinds thing or other, that they want to add to the report that has to do with China. So the word is, and this is just the scuttlebutt that I've heard from a couple different places, that there's a big battle going on right now between Radcliffe and the powers that be, the deep state, whatever, that don't want the China stuff included in the report, that don't want this all to come out, maybe about SolarWinds, etc., and are trying to make sure that that doesn't happen, and that's why they're pushing this back. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. I mean, if you got into our nukes, that's a big problem, right? So that's that. You can check that article out. Now, I started digging into ES&S, which is a company that makes voting machines, right? We've looked into them a little bit. But what was interesting I went back, and it started in 1974. A clot printing company approached Westinghouse Learning Corp with a simple question: could the scanners Westinghouse was building for educational tests be used to scan ballots? And then they started a company that turned into another company, and then they started buying more companies, and then they merged with other, so it just became American Information Systems, and they acquired the Election Services division of this place, and it just morphed into like more and more and more this huge company. And then it finally became ES&S at some point. They bought AIS, American Information Systems, in 1997, who had 750 customers. And I think they also bought another company called BRC. So this company just comes up and they start acquiring more and more until they became one of the largest voting companies vendors in the United States. This merger was delayed by the United States Department of Justice on antitrust grounds. So this is already looking suspicious back in the day, right? Until E&S agreed to transfer the Optech product line to Sequoia. So now, is ES&S somehow connected with Sequoia? We're not sure yet. We have to kind of dig into that more, I guess. Shortly after the BRC AIS merger, ES&S acquired the rights to the Votronic. They immediately made major cosmetic changes to the Votronic, renaming it the iVotronic. In their sales presentations, ES&S emphasized that the iVotronic was essentially the same as the Votronic. Okay. Then they acquired Automark Technical Systems in 2008. And the Automark came into widespread use. By 2016, it was used statewide in 10 states and widely used in 19 additional. Then they acquired Premier Election Solutions, or Diebold, on September the 3rd, 2009. Following the acquisition, the Department of Justice in 14 individual states launched investigations into the transaction on antitrust grounds. So this company is continuing to acquire more and more things, and they're getting investigated, but nobody seems to be holding them to account, right? In March 2010, the Department of Justice filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against ES&S, requiring it to divest voting equipment systems assets it purchased in September 2009 from Premier Election Solutions in order to restore competition. The company later sold the assets to Dominion. So you could see that this company is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In June 2019, this is what piqued my interest, this paragraph. And it led me to something else, and I'll get to that in a minute. In June 2019, ES&S was wholly owned by Government Systems Software and Services, Inc., of which McCarthy Group, LLC, held a controlling ownership. and shares over 5% each were held by Tom Burt and Tom O'Brien. Shares over 5% of Mccarthy Group, in turn, were owned by passive investors Nancy McCarthy and Kenneth Stinson. Burt is president and CEO of ES&S, and O'Brien is vice president CFO. Now, this is where it got weird, because when I searched Government Systems Software Inc., it leads to Omaha, I believe. A lot of stuff is in Omaha with this for some reason. And I was digging this company last night, trying to figure out who they were and what they were doing connected to this company. But see, it appears to me that it's wholly owned. So that means that Government Systems wholly owns ES&S, and McCarthy Group also holds a controlling ownership and shares over 5%. So who actually controls it, right? Because if it's a controlling ownership, I would think it's McCarthy Group. And the McCarthy Group is run by Mike McCarthy, businessman. Wait, where did his page, did it disappear on me? This was up last night, huh? Well, Mike McCarthy is I believe runs this group here, which is called Mccarthy Capital, right? This is who I can tell owns the interest in. And this is their team. I don't know how many people. Let's see if we could see who. Patrick Duffy. There's Mike McCarthy, the partner. Where was that person mentioned in? I don't know if they're still at this company. Maybe they're not anymore. Mike Meyer. Okay, none of these names are ringing bells in my head. So, yeah. So I don't know if maybe he's on another, smaller employee or something, not high up. Mike McCarthy apparently is the person that created this firm. And I was looking to... Now, here's another thing that's still bugging me that I can't understand or figure out. This particular person is named Jessica Bowers. She is the one who was present at the Pennsylvania test of the Dominion systems, okay? She was representing Dominion in that particular state that was running a test on the Dominion scanner machines and their equipment. And I posted that in the last dig. That's the sauce, right? The sauce is that Bowers is listed on the Pennsylvania, I believe that was in 2018 when they were getting ready for the elections. I'm not sure, but it's previous to this election. And it says that Jessica Bowers, Dominion employee, was present at that particular thing with Kathy Bookvar and all the other people who were watching the testing of these machines. Okay, but then later we find out that at some point later, Bowers is moved from Dominion to the EAC, who is the agency that is the government agency that's set up to okay the machines, in which machines can be used and get EAC certification in certain states, right? And we talked about that. But if this person's from Dominion, right, and then she moves to the EAC, why weren't any red flags raised? And it seems like there were some red flags raised. You saw Klobuchar and actually some other people saying, hey, what's going on with this agency? Why is there only like one guy working here and he's working from 1,000 miles away? And why is this person being moved into the EAC who has an obvious conflict of interest in that she worked for Dominion voting systems? Why is this person, of anyone else you could hire, put in there? That doesn't make any sense, and it makes my alarm bells go off, because it looks to me like you're trying to make sure that Dominion systems got in to Pennsylvania in these states that you were trying to maybe rig, right? That's the way my scam mind works on it. If you want to go backwards in a scam, start at the end, right? You can't start a scam from the beginning. You have to go from the end result backwards and figure out how it got done, right? So now we're knowing that we're sort of at the end of their scam. We know what they were trying to do, right? What were they trying to do? Get Dominion voting machines in as many states as possible. And I've read that this woman was also involved possibly in getting, and now it's allegedly, but maybe she was also involved in other states like California, pushing the machines in there. So now the question's going to be, like Tori was talking about on Tori Says Show, is that if the certifications in those states, in other words, some of the states don't allow a tabulator with a modem in it for the reason that we talked about, which is it could be, your information could be compromised. But this is my question. Every state reports their results to the press. That's how they do the system, where they can tell you so quick, oh yeah, this is, we called this state right away for Biden, right? As soon as it opens, it's called for Biden. You don't get to see the result come out. You don't get to see the ticker. You don't get to see the votes as they come in. It just knows. Well, how are they sending that information to the press and to the tabulation centers? If you listen to Poulos, he's saying it's on a closed network. But if that closed network needs to go onto the web at some point to transfer the data, then it could be compromised, right? Even if it's for a short time. And you could see that the tabulator machines, some of them can go online. Now the question is, did these people know that they could be compromised ahead of time? And they were trying to rig that state, and so Bookvar said, yeah, we got to get the Dominion machines in here. We got to get Bowers in here to okay it. But Bowers is the one that okayed your machines who represented Dominion in that test. And then later she's transferred to the EAC. So until somebody can rectify that, and somebody can question her, or whoever made that decision should be fired. Because you let a known operative from another, from a competitive, from someone in the same industry that you're now overseeing into your agency, which is a real conflict of interest in my mind. Nurse passes out on live TV after taking the coronavirus vaccine. Some people get nervous in front of crowds, they pass out, but maybe there's something real bad in there, right? I remember years ago I only took the flu vaccine one time. And as soon as I took it, I got extremely sick. My whole body went on fire. My kidneys were burning. I was just the most horrible feeling I've ever had in my life. And I swore I'd never take any of these things ever again. That was about 8 or 9, 10 years ago. I haven't been sick at all for 6, 7 years. You can self-heal. That's what people don't realize. You get your vibration high enough and you can self-heal. You can regulate your entire body systems. Everything. That's how people, you get these people, oh yeah, you had a tumor the other day and now it's gone. That's how it happens. Spontaneous healing, can do it. General Flynn, clearly there was a foreign influence tied to these Dominion machines, goes back to China, Russia, Iran. Trump should revote these states. That's interesting. Maybe there'll be a revote, right? I mean, a lot of these, we saw the data from Nevada and all these states, right? There's enough data there to overturn 2, 3, maybe 4 of them. That makes the whole election go different, right? Let's listen to General Flynn.
Former General Michael Flynn joins us. For all too short a time, he was President Trump's national security advisor. He was unfairly, and it looks like illegally, targeted by the FBI and rogue prosecutors. General Flynn recently pardoned by the President of the United States. So great to have you here on Newsmax, sir. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thanks for having me.
You bet, you bet. First off, listen, you're an intel expert. There's not much that's happening in America that you don't know or is going on in the cyber world. Your take overall on the election and what should happen next?
I think that number one, President Trump won on the 3rd of November. The things that he needs to do right now is he needs to appoint a special counsel immediately. He needs to seize all of these Dominion and these other voting machines that we have across the country. He needs to go ahead and prioritize by state and probably by county. Fulton County, Maricopa County as an example. Exactly what they did up in Antrim County, Michigan, and what they discovered. I think if he looks at probably a couple of random sampling of some of these counties, he's going to find exactly the same problem. These machines are clearly there is a foreign influence that is tied to this system, and it goes back to China, likely goes to Russia, likely goes to Iran. We know that Venezuela has participated in the development of these machines. There's been problems all over the country with them. This not only Dominion, but also this Smartmatic software. So he's got a couple of options that he can take, and he needs to take them. He needs to take them right now.
So I hear some murmurings. You know about the staff shakeup at the Pentagon. They're putting people in place who might not be opposed to aggressive action. And the president does have some options, at least on paper. Can you tell us what those options are and your opinion if he might take any of them?
Well, I don't know if he's going to take any of these options. I mean, the president has to plan for every eventuality, because we cannot allow this election and the integrity of our election to go the way it is. I mean, this is just totally unsatisfactory. There's no way in the world that we are going to be able to move forward as a nation with this. So the president has and I just mentioned one of the options. I mean, he could immediately, on his order, seize every single one of these machines around the country on his order. He could also order within the swing states, if he wanted to, he could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states. I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, these people out there talking about martial law, it's like it's something that we've never done. Martial law has been instituted 64 times, Greg. So I'm not calling for that. We have a constitutional process. We clearly have a constitutional process. I think you highlighted some of that in your previous segment. That has to be followed. But I will tell you that I'm a little concerned about Chief Justice John Roberts at the Supreme Court. I mean, that we can't fool around with the fabric of the Constitution of the United States. And I think that right now the Constitution, if the Supreme Court doesn't get involved in at least making sure that the fabric of that Constitution is held together, and all they have to do is look at the evidence. They have to look at the evidence. I'm not certain. In fact, I don't believe that the Supreme Court of the United States has even looked at the merit of any of the cases that have been put forward yet. What they've been looking at is process files, whether somebody crossed the T or dotted an I. And that's unsatisfactory. That is, to me, that lacks courage. It lacks moral fiber within the Chief Justice, and frankly within the members of the Supreme Court. And I actually think that this is an unprecedented time. It's a crucible moment in our history, and we should expect much more out of the Supreme Court. And clearly, the other thing I would say, and I'll stop, is I expect much more out of the Republican Party. They need to start standing up and fighting for this president.
So many of them, I think in their heart of hearts, I'm talking about the swamp, they want to go back to...
They're all worried about Georgia. They're all worried about this runoff in Georgia. It's a fake election. You can't have another election on the same system. It's a broken system. And we cannot allow a system that's tied to foreign powers to be used to vote for the president or any elective office in our country.
Yeah, listen, I know about first the Republicans, the leadership. Yeah, let's face it, a lot of them, they breathe a sigh of relief if Donald Trump.
Stop it there, guys, but I agree with General Flynn. Excuse me. You know, how it would be real easy, really, if you just let the military redo the election, right? Do it with the quantum voting system, and then compare it to what we have. And if the result would be so much the opposite, right, it would be like a huge Trump victory, then you would look at the two and say, well, one of these isn't correct. This system can't be hacked, and it's always right. So, and it's the quantum system. Use it and do it on a quantum computer. That's all. Because a quantum computer, you can't hack it. And so that election would be clean, and it would show the real, and then you'd see how different it was, and everyone would say, wow, look at that. He could also use the Insurrection Act. Because if in fact China hasn't infiltrated our systems, and if in fact our votes did go overseas to another country, then you have an international incident at the least. And at the most, that could be considered an act of war, and we've done that to other countries for a long time. We've affected other countries' elections, whether it's through financing groups, we've financed revolutions, we financed different groups that have tried to destabilize and take over certain governments, we have killed certain world leaders. So this is a lot of this is like the last 50 to 100 years, of our what we've been doing to other countries coming back on us in a sense, and you're starting to see the mechanism that was in place with the CIA used as a weapon and a covert tool for the deep state. So that's what I think, because I've done a lot of research into the CIA and how it began. And it all, to me, we really made some huge errors. We made big mistakes with allowing those paperclip Nazis to come in. And that was, I don't know how they did that or why, just to get the tech that they, the knowledge that they had, but it wasn't worth it. And unfortunately, we made, it appears, some deals with the wrong aliens. And so once you make a deal with the wrong aliens and they come in, they start doing whatever they want to do. Like taking people off your planet maybe to use them for whatever, right? You started to see all those, people disappearing in the parks? Yeah. They weren't just falling into a hole and disappearing, you know what I mean? They were being snatched by somebody taken either underground or off planet. That's why. And that number started to grow to as many as 1 million people a year, I've read in some allegations. So, think about that for a second. You let these guys come in and they say, well, yeah, we're just going to take a few people. We just want their DNA to experiment on them, and, we'll bring them right back and they won't be harmed. And that's why I think you started to see all those people getting snatched and stuff. And then it just kept getting more and more. And then what are you going to do about it? You can't stop these people. And then you got the Germans on top of that you have to deal with too. So you have now the Germans who went off planet maybe, and then you got these guys. So it's another story to talk about, right? We got big problems. So government systems and software, I got led back to. And it's another one of these things where there's 4 different companies that go by that name. Now, I'm not sure if there's some agent that this is what they do, and it's just there's nothing untoward here, but I noticed there's a Delaware Corp, Massachusetts Foreign Corporation. So they're like these different corporations set up. Here's a Texas corporation, Nebraska, Domesticated Foreign Corp. I'm not really that well versed in this kind of stuff, but I just find it curious that there's all these. And also, when I looked up this company, I found something else that was weird, which was that it was, let me see if I could find that again, that I think it was here, under Corporation Wiki, there's another company that Government Systems Software and Services Inc. is listed as an officer of another company, which is this company called ES&S LLC, which seems to only have one person. And when I looked up ES&S LLC, it's also in Omaha, Nebraska. So we keep going back to there. ES&S LLC fired as a foreign in the state of California on Tuesday, October 10, 2017, and is approximately 3 years old. According to the public records, a corporate filing is called a foreign filing when an existing corporate entity files in a state other than the state they originally filed in. This does not necessarily mean that they are from outside the United States. And then ES&S has this other company listed, which is Government Systems and Software. So, it's these small shells that go back to another shell that are connected somehow, and I don't know if there's anything untoward about it, but I know that when you're doing stuff like this, normally what you try to do is you make a bunch of shell companies up and, can move money through them and different things, right? So I was trying to dig Government Systems Software and Services Inc., and it seems like it's a domesticated foreign corporation that is in Nebraska, but it's also in Delaware. So it filed in Nebraska, and this one is July 9, 2008. And again, it seems like the agent is this company over and over again, National Registered Agents, John Galt Boulevard, Omaha. So I don't know about this. I'll have to keep digging. It seems like there's a sort of maze of these different companies, and then, but McCarthy is a fairly big company. I mean, they seem to have a lot of stuff under their purvey. They have a lot of money. They also are connected to ES&S. Here's some of the companies that they're connected with or that they invest in, I guess. And I noticed a lot of stuff in Omaha, Scooters Coffee, Triage Staffing. And they're also connected with ES&S. And so ES&S is a leading provider of election management solutions. Tom Burt and Tom O'Brien, here's the names that we were told in the thing, so they're still there. Is a leading provider of election management solutions to government jurisdictions serving election administrations in the U.S. and Canada. McCarthy Group originally partnered with the founders in 1987. So these guys have been invested in this company for forever. And for more than 30 years has supported ES&S as it has grown into the industry leader with solutions for each step of an election. The stable partnership has enabled continuous investment in research and development, resulting in new and improved voting technology built with the highest standards. So this is their site. It's not much, just a basic site, I guess. And this is, see, they're saying they're EAC certified. Here's all their products. There's the DS200 scanner tabulator that we were talking about. There's the DS850, the high-speed scanner tabulator. So these are all their different products. They have a lot of stuff, I'm trying to find like where their certifications are, but I'm not so federally certified. Okay, so let's see. DS850, they're saying is federally certified. The electionware. You notice the DS200 is not federally certified, it says here. Huh, that's interesting. Or is it? Oh, no, it is, sorry. It is federally certified, my bad. So these two are also apparently according to them. But the question to me is, do either one of these have a modem in it? And if they do, then how did you certify it? Because I thought you're not supposed to be allowed to certify something that has connection to the internet. So we'll have to see how it all plays out with this stuff. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I guess I'll get off. But the last thing I wanted to talk about real quick was that, and I lost it now. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, guys. Chinese bank forced Western companies to install malware-laced tax software by ZDNet. This is from June 25th, 2020. Goldenspy backdoor Trojan found in the Chinese bank's official tax software, which the bank has been forcing Western companies to install. Let's see if this is a long vid or not. Maybe we could watch it. Goldenspy.
The TrustWave Spider Labs Threat Fusion team conducts many threat hunts across every sector of industry. And one such hunt performed recently yielded some startling results. The client in this case is a global technology vendor with significant government business in the US, Australia, and the UK. A recent addition of offices in China led to key findings important to the long-term security of the client, as well as potentially countless other businesses operating in the country. Threat hunters identified a strange executable sending system information to a suspicious domain. Working with the client further revealed that this was part of their bank's required tax software. Upon opening operations in China, their local bank required the installation of this software, produced by the Golden Tax Department of the Asino Corporation. As the investigation unfolded, it was noted that the tax software worked as advertised. However, it also installed a hidden backdoor which could enable an adversary to remotely execute Windows commands or upload and execute any binary file, to include ransomware, Trojans, and other malware. This backdoor software, which TrustWave threat hunters and researchers are calling Goldenspy, has a legitimate code signature from a company called Chinquo Network Technology. Several other highly unusual aspects to the software include software installing two identical versions of itself as persistent auto-start services. The uninstall feature for the attack software does not remove the Goldenspy malware. Goldenspy is not downloaded and installed until several hours after the legitimate software installation. Goldenspy uses techniques designed to avoid network security controls, and it operates in a system-level context, allowing full control of a host system. These factors have led us to the conclusion that Goldenspy is a well-hidden and powerful backdoor that surrenders full remote command and control of the victim system to an unknown adversary. The Threat Fusion team is still actively investigating the Goldenspy campaign. If you have any information or may have been affected by this attack, please reach out to our team at goldenspy@trustwave.com.
Wow, and so that's just like a recent thing. I mean, this article's from when? This year, right? June 25th, 2020. A Chinese bank has forced at least 2 Western companies to install malware-laced software on their systems. Cybersecurity from Trustwave said in a report. So that's a huge story. I mean, if you're trying to, you were trying to access a bank's infrastructure. Now you forced a bank in your country to do that. That bank can now sue you for a major amount of money. You almost compromised their systems. The 2 companies are a UK-based tech software vendor and a major financial institution, both of which had recently opened offices in China. So, Goldenspy backdoor, was this, who knows, this could be in our systems too. We don't know, right? If a company in our country does business over there and they install this, who knows? It could get their whole systems could be compromised now. So this is another backdoor, spy thing, right? And this company had a lot of problems. They had, to go in and forensically and remove all this stuff. Trustwave said it's discovered a new type of malware called Goldenhelper, embedded in sales tax software, a different tool than one it found previously. So now Goldenspy also has an offshoot, Goldenhelper, and what's devious about this is, if you heard what it said, is it doesn't install itself right away. It waits several hours and then it installs itself, and it also installs itself as a double of on some other programs, so you might miss it, or you look at it and say, oh yeah, that's that program, I saw it already, and you don't see the double because it might not show up, right? So anyway, guys, I won't go on too long. I just wanted to report about this Goldenspy and some other stories and do my alien rant. I get it. I know there's a plan for everything, and it's really God's plan, right, guys? We're on God's time, so we just got to be more patient. And I think with anything, that as you go through life, more and more of its mysteries will become revealed to us. Just have to be patient, stay in our center, and try to watch everything unfold without judgment, right? Which is hard. So with that, friends, I wish you peace and love. This is Ash, WAT News, signing off for now.